Yo, 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 this is Truett's mother. Happy Saturday. Truett's word on the word.
Oh,
And I'm his favorite aunt.
you got Truist
through,
Mama. Go ahead, go ahead,
through its word on the word. I'm so
go
happy to be here.
ahead. As you can tell, this is going to be a very, very special video. I got my mom here. I got my Aunt Donnett here. I'm extremely excited to have them. Welcome to the channel. So today is going to be a very special video. So today is actually going to be part 6. So this is going to be video number 6 in the series that we've been doing, What Makes a Godly Man? And I got to be honest with you, I'm glad to have these two ladies on the channel. They have actually known me my entire life. So I got my mom here. She's the one that birthed me into the world. And she's also the one
Yes.
that has told me my whole life, I brought you into this world and I can take you out. and then Aunt Donnett, I believe you were at youth camp when I
I
was born, right?
was. Yeah, I
Yeah,
was. Yes,
yeah,
with Paw Paw.
yeah. She was at a church,
Yeah,
I guess, as a Church of God youth camp when I
it
was born. She
was.
was a
Yes.
teenager, so
I was 14, Justin.
14.
But I did change your diapers too. So
And you know, I was almost 14 when y'all were born.
That's cool. That's
yeah,
cool. So,
yeah, yeah.
so this is a very special video for me because I got two of the most awesome ladies ever. So welcome to the channel,
Thank you, Justin.
and I got to be honest, this is going to be a very biased video for two reasons. So this video is actually going to be two parts. So what we're going to be focused on doing in this video, we're actually going to be talking to mom and we're going to be talking to Aunt Donnett, and I'm going to be asking them some questions. I'm going to be picking their heart, picking their brain, kind of diving into their spirit a little bit. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be focusing in on their life, their faith, their journey with the Lord. We're going to talk about some things and they're going to open up to you guys and it's going to be all wrapped up in the subject of what makes a godly woman. So this series, this video is going to be made by women, it's built by women. It's going to be This video is to inspire and encourage women. That's the whole reason for this video. And what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about their faith, but what we're also going to be doing on the second part of this video is we're also going to be talking about the faith of their mom. So my mama, my amazing mama, the most amazing woman that has ever walked the face of the earth. You could ask anybody that's ever met her. My mom's the oldest out of all of the kids, and my Aunt Donnett, she's the youngest. And you could ask all the aunts, the cousins, the uncles, anybody that's ever known my mama and papa, that my mama is the most amazing, godly woman that has ever walked the world. So we're going to be talking about their faith, but we're also going to be talking about the faith of my mama, the life she lived, the godly example that she emulated her whole life. So we're
Right.
going to be talking about those two specific things. So this video is going to be very biased for me because I love them. I love my mom all to death. So we're going to hop to the video. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be asking them some questions. I'm going to be letting them share their heart, letting them share their faith, and we're also going to be talking about mama sprinkled all through the video. So what we're going to do is we're going to start. So, question number one, this is one I want to know, and y'all correct me because I'm not a woman. I don't understand women. I can't. I think it would be ignorant for any man to get on here and start barking and saying what women should or shouldn't do inside the church, outside the church, inside the home, or outside the home. What I want to do is I want to hear from the perspective of a woman, from the heart of a woman, from a woman who's lived this life out, who's struggled behind the scenes and also has had some victories also about what it takes to be a godly woman and the things and the lessons that they've learned um, over time. So what I want to do is question number one is I would assume, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, and I think we're going to start with mom on this one. Um, so I would assume that as a woman, you have many priorities. You have many hats that you have to wear. You have a lot of different responsibilities, whether you're young in motherhood or you're getting older in your life and anywhere in between. Um, I would assume that your personal faith is the most important. And the reason I say that is this: I'm not saying not ignoring other people, but I'm saying focusing, I would assume you focusing in with your walk with the Lord, making sure your heart's squared away per se, and making sure that your faith is grounded and rooted in Christ before you could properly live that out, before you can properly lead your children, before you can properly show Jesus in the workplace, before you can, function properly in the church, or whatever it is that God has laid on your heart to do. I would think your personal walk with the Lord should come first. So if you can, Mom, with that being said, your own personal faith in the Lord, your journey walking with Him, however you want to start us off. So if you can, just go there however you want to.
Well, I can't ever think of the time where I wasn't in church, but there was a time when I got in my 20s. I didn't want any part of it. I'm real. I wanted to do my own thing. And maybe 3, 4 years it took becoming a mother for God to wake me up. This is a story I shared with Justin last night. I'll never forget when his father was still alive, that I always got up in the middle of the night to check on my kids. And he was at the age where he was climbing out of his crib, and he wasn't in his crib. I wasn't living right. And I knew that if the Lord Jesus Christ had come back, I would not have gone. The first thing that came out of my mouth was, "Oh no, the rapture's taking place." I looked all over the place for this little 2-year-old boy. He had gone in a spare bathroom and fell asleep, and God got my attention. It took a few years before I submitted, but the older I get, I want people to realize there's nothing worth losing heaven over. And I was blessed, yes, with godly parents. I'm old enough to remember more than Donnett before my parents got saved, and seeing where they came from and when they passed away. Nothing is worth losing heaven over.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, Mom. So kind of throw a link in the chain at you. So at what point in your life do you feel like whatever was going on in life where you finally, because a buddy of mine calls it, there's no plan B. I'm going to follow God. There's nowhere else to go. So my question for you is, where were you at in life, and kind of what was going on when you finally said, "Lord, I'm finally going to walk with you. I'm going to trust you. I'm never going to stop. I love you. I'm going to serve you." When did you have your yes, God moment?
When you guys became teenagers. I don't know if you could say I was straddling the fence, but I knew I went, "Lord, I want everything you can give me," because I wanted to be an example to him and his brother. Yeah. And I raised a stepson, and I wanted to be a godly example to my stepson. And God has ways of getting our attention. And through raising children, I think it was for me. And I thought, I want what my mom and daddy has. And now I'm pushing 70. I'll be 70 years old my next birthday.
I thought you were 45.
No. But I want people to see Jesus in me. And that's the real thing. I mean, I don't want to be fake. I'm not fake. Donnett used to always tell me, "Kaye, if the walls would talk back, you could talk to a wall." And seriously, I don't care where I go. If I'm in the grocery store and you've told me this, he's calling me a social butterfly. Yeah. People are going to know I'm a Christian, but I don't do it as a bragging right. I do it because I'm sincere.
Because that's who you are.
Them to see
it's your personality, Kaye.
It's my personality.
Yeah,
I want
just
people
who God
to see
made
Jesus in me.
Yeah.
Am I perfect? Absolutely not. We're striving for perfection. We haven't made it to heaven yet, but I want to be the real deal.
Yeah. Okay. So Aunt Donnett, so same question to you. So I would assume, as a wife, as a mom, as somebody who works in the workplace, and you have all these hats and responsibilities, and grandmother, and got so many other things that you have on your plate. How do you focus on your walk with the Lord? What has been some of the things that have kept you from walking away from the Lord? And I guess I guess the best way to answer this question, how do you put that importance on you and Jesus and not letting everybody else crowd that? What do you do with that? How do you approach that with your walk and your faith in him being the most important? So however you want to go there.
Well, for me, I became a blended family, going through a divorce, and I think Kayla was probably 6,
Mm-hmm.
and becoming a blended family at an early age um, was extremely hard, and trying to be that stepmom. I hate that word stepmom. And as time went on, I was like, I'm not a stepmom, I'm a bonus mom.
Mm-hmm.
But trying to put on that hat of trying to be a stepmom and then trying to be a mother to 3 kids, I kind of lost myself during that time, where I was trying to be um, a mother to 2 young boys, that I was trying to get them to love me the way that Kayla did. And you know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah,
That
oh yeah,
that was
yeah.
hard. That was really hard.
It
And
is.
I wasn't grounded in my faith then. Um, you know, thank goodness we had mama then, but she didn't have a blended family. So it was, at that time, it was hard to talk to her about, how to be a stepmother, and she would always have biblical points, but as far as like going to her, as far as like how to be a stepmom, I really didn't have a whole lot of people to go to. I think I probably went to Kaye during that
Because
time,
I've been there. Yeah.
because she went there. But as far as like going to mom for that part, she she helped me as far as like spiritually, but that, putting those hats on of being a stepmother and being a mom and a wife to another husband, that was kind of my turning point, where I
Yeah.
kind of had to grow from that.
Yes.
And showing my bonus sons Jesus,
Mhm.
because they had never really been around that until they did, but they didn't. And just putting on that hat of, hey, this is how we're going to live in our home. That was kind of a hard turning point for me. And then teaching them the ways of Jesus. I had Kayla because she was mine, and then my stepson, bonus sons, trying to teach them Jesus in a way that I was raised. That was hard. That was
Blended
really,
families is
really
hard.
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Does
you
that
so
make sense, kind of?
yeah,
Yeah.
so you
Yeah.
had a lot to juggle, and really you didn't have too many people to lean on but God to help you with
I
That's
really
right.
didn't. And, I was in Tennessee alone. I was up here by myself. We had a mom that never drove a car. And it wasn't like she could come up here and just be with me without our dad taking her. Well, he was busy. He was still pastoring churches. He couldn't just drive up here. So I kind of felt like I was in my own little bubble trying to figure this stuff out. And so I just kind of, from that point on, I had to kind of learn. No offense to mama, it's just it is what it is. And I told you I'm probably going to be the most real, because I during that time I felt like I was really alone, because I had nobody. I was up here, went through a divorce, uh, raising, all of a sudden
That's
I've got this
right.
blended family, and I'm trying to figure things out by myself,
And
honestly.
and
And
a, and
so
a good and a good biblical, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but
that's okay.
a good biblical example of that is Moses had a wilderness experience. Jesus himself had wilderness experiences where he was all alone. The people that um, were the closest around him, were nobody nowhere there, and really the only person he had to lean on was the shrink from his father. So I mean, that really, it sounds like you were in your own little modern day wilderness
I
experience at that point.
was.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
absolutely was. And let me tell you, blended families, I never thought I would get married to get a divorce.
Mhm.
I just, I didn't, and things happen, and it is what it is. But I know that God was lining me up with the man I'm married to now, which is 22 years now.
And he's a cutie pie
And
too, ain't he?
huh?
He's a cutie pie too, ain't
He's a cutie pie. He's a good man. He's a good man. He's a good
he?
man.
Yeah.
But there were times where we thought, nah, we're not gonna make this. We can't do this. It was hard, but we
Yeah.
stuck it out. And hey, all of our kids are in church, all three of
Awesome.
them.
That's wonderful. And
Awesome.
Donnett, see, I can relate to you on the blended
So
family.
my
But
wilderness, like you said, Justin, my wilderness, and I felt like I was in the desert, literally alone. I was by myself up here. I was like, man, I wished I had a mom that could just drive up here and see me. I didn't have that.
Yeah.
And no, nothing against mama. It just is what it is. But um I made it. I made it
Hmm.
through
you
that.
did,
That
and
was
God
the
made you stronger
Oh, yeah.
too. See, I was
Oh, yeah.
blessed to have her here, and I always had mom around, but Donnett was the one that lived way out.
Hmm.
You're right, you didn't really have anybody. You had
No, I didn't. I did.
God was your strength.
Yep.
I
He
mean, of course, He
absolutely
is our
was.
strength
So,
and everything, but
Yeah.
yeah, so much I could say about that, but
Oh, yeah.
that's kind of the part where I think I started putting on my spiritual hats.
Hmm.
And as the years have gone on, and we'll talk more about that, I
Oh,
guess,
yeah,
as
yeah.
the video goes on, but that's kind of my foundation of where I think
I
I've
like it.
began.
And the reason I'm asking these questions is for the people who see this video and don't know you or don't know mom or don't know our family or our dynamic, the people who don't know us, at least give them a little bit of context of, you know, towards the end of the video when we talk about some specific things. So it just gives them a little heads up of why we think the way we think and why we feel the way we feel and just kind of like our journey through life. So it brings some context and it just makes it a little bit more easy understandable. So for the next question, so what I want to do is we've talked about your some some of the things in the beginning, the Lord, using you, changing your heart, whether it be with young kids and or being by yourself trying to raise a new family, um, how the miracles that God does in our life in any different situation. So the next thing I want to talk about is probably one of the most important discussions on the planet is the subject about marriage. So question two, we're going to talk about marriage and we're going to start with mom. So what I want you to do is touch on the importance of marriage, the importance of having a biblically based marriage, a Jesus centered marriage, the covenant and the vows that you and your husband made. So if you can you talk about the importance of marriage and maybe some things that the Lord has helped you with in your marriage and however you want to go there, go there.
well, I'm kind of like Donnett. Monday will be mine and Tim's 31st anniversary. Yes,
Awesome.
I have been married before, and it's easy to give up. When
Is
we make a vow, we make a covenant with God.
Mhm.
When we get married, we are no longer one, two, we are one in God's
Mhm.
eyes.
mhm.
He looks at us as one person. So when one of us is hurting, the other one's hurting. But we can't give up. I mean, in this world, it would be easy to give up. And that's the only way that living for the Lord, that's the only way you're going to make it because men are different. We're different. Like Justin said, he can't figure out women. Sometimes I can't figure out men, but you have to work it out. You have to realize, hey, I'm in it for the long haul. And
Mhm.
seeing my parents, if my parents were still alive, they'd be married let's see, 70 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought they never gave up. I'm sure there were times when mom and daddy weren't living right. There were times that I knew mom and daddy did separate one time. This was pre-salvation, but God had a greater plan. And thank God they didn't give up.
Yeah.
And that was a really, really, that was an inspiration to me to see a couple married. And unfortunately, daddy's life was shortened by an accident. But I believe if they had still lived, they probably would have made their 70th anniversary.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. What do you think, besides the obvious being Jesus himself, what do you think is the glue that should hold a marriage together?
Praying together, uh, talking things out. I think if couples are going to always disagree, I don't think that if you're mad at each other, upset with each other, it shouldn't be known in front of other people. This is kind of a private thing. If you've got something you want to discuss, wait till everybody's gone, then talk about it. Don't yell or fuss at your spouse
and I think
in front of people.
And I think that's a biggie, especially with social media and just this whole digital world we all live in. People ranting and raving about their spouse or, this, that, and the other.
Good relationship. And of course, yes, we all have problems because we're different, but you don't down the other person on social media in front of your children.
No.
Keep it between you and him, because if you do, that breaks a connection. And I think talking to each other and praying with each other. And I'm blessed has a man that wants to go to church with me. Not every woman's husband or spouse will go with them to church. But I'm blessed. Donnett's blessed. She's got Randy going with her. But I just don't believe in airing any of my business out on social media, because there is no perfect marriage. We can strive strive is my favorite word. We are striving for everything. I'm striving for a good marriage. I'm striving for heaven. I'm striving for my children to be next in line with me. So I'm striving. We can't go to our children about what our husbands or wives does to each other. That's a no-no. That's a no-no.
And Donnett, anything you want to elaborate on being a wife, having a spouse, and everything that it entails?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is biblically. It first says, "Do not be unequally yoked," and I would never ever even gone out on a date with Randy if he had told me he was anything other than a Christian.
Yeah.
Right.
You find out those things first, not after you fall in love with them, and then they say, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'm a Muslim," or whatever. No. That's first and foremost for me. That was one of the first things that I did ask Randy, "Do you know Jesus?"
Yeah.
And he said yes. But if he said no, then you're out. That's just the bottom line. So that's the one thing for me. But another thing is, going back to piggybacking off what I said earlier, don't tell your kids your problems. Come on. You see these moms out there, Justin, I'm real now. So you see these moms or dads or whatever talking bad about the other parent.
Yeah.
Don't do that. That's awful, because that kid is, when you do that to me, the kid is saying, the kid hears when you're talking about their mom or their dad, the kid is, because they love their parents. The kid, I think, is thinking they don't love me.
Yeah.
They blame it on themselves.
When you do that, and I've learned, that's just something that Randy and I don't do. We don't talk about each other to our kids, even now that they're grown. Like, Randy may do something that might tick me off or whatever. I don't go run to Kayla and tell him what she did, what he did, because that
Well,
will make Kayla have resentment towards Randy. Or
That's
Randy,
the kicker. Yep.
that's awful. And
yeah,
then, and you know what that causes? Strife. It causes uh, resentment, unforgiveness, and then that builds into bigger things. So that's one thing that Randy and I both have learned, even from the very beginning. We don't talk about each other to our children. We keep it in the privacy of our home. And that, I think that's what kind of kept our marriage strong, is you just don't do that. You don't talk about each other to your children. That's a no.
Yeah,
yeah, that's
And
and
so,
exactly how
and
I
something I
feel.
thought of when y'all were saying all that is, think of it in this, say, whether it be me and my wife or your kids, your daughter, your sons and their spouses, how would we feel if, or how would you feel if your kid's spouse was going around bad mouthing your child? Say your
100%.
daughter Kayla, or one of your sons, say their spouse is going bad mouthing them when they did something maybe purposeful or accidental. All it does is gives people a skewed view of that person, and it's just ignorant.
100%. I agree with that. You just don't do that. It causes so much more. And to me, it's just opening the door for the enemy to uh, bring in other
Hmm.
things, ugly things.
Yeah, yeah.
Recently, just for instance, Randy and I all of a sudden started getting these little um, Asian ladybugs, and they're coming in my house like crazy. Like they're coming in. I came home one day for work. There was like hundreds and hundreds, and I'm not even. That's not exaggeration. All
Everywhere, yeah.
my ceilings and everything. And it was like the Lord spoke to me. I was trying to get them down. Randy was out of town. I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know what to do. The Lord literally spoke to my heart, and because I was thinking, where are they coming from? Well, there was our home is new, fairly new construction, and there was a little bitty, teeny tiny crack above the back of my where you go out to my deck.
Hmm.
And the Lord spoke to my heart and said, Donnett, that's how sin is.
That's
You
right.
have a if you have a tiny crack in your heart, Daddy used to say from your head to your heart, and then from your heart to your hands. And
And
you forget that head, heart,
heart
hands.
to hands.
So I was thinking, God spoke to me and said, when you allow a teeny tiny crack, you don't get to pick and choose what that little crack. I didn't get to pick and choose what kind of bug came through the crack of my door. I didn't get to pick and choose a fly, a ladybug, an Asian ladybug. Them lady Asian bugs, they fly around, they'll bite you, and they're kind of aggressive. And it was like God said, when a tiny little crack, you don't get to pick and choose what kind of sin comes
Yep.
in.
True.
Bitterness,
Yep.
anger, resentment,
Yeah,
unforgiveness. So you gotta keep those cracks sealed, because we don't get to pick and choose what kind of demon we
that's a good
allow. So
analogy.
when we talk and we gossip about our husband to our kids,
Hmm.
or our kids to us, you don't get to pick and choose. That can cause bitterness, anger, resentment. So you gotta zip it.
I
You
like
gotta
it.
keep it
I like
zipped.
it. So with that being said, that leads perfect into my next question, and I'm going to ask both of y'all this. This is a loaded question, and however you want to answer it, just touch on it briefly. With that being said, and the importance of marriage, how did viewing your mom and dad's marriage from the outside looking in, and a lot of times from the inside looking in, seeing them the way they live their life and they live their marriage out in private and in public, how did it affect y'all? So, Mom, we'll start with you. And I know
Well,
you lightly touched on it a minute ago, but how was their life? How did it encourage you? How did it bless you? How did it help you? Knowing the good and the bad.
well, speaking raw, like Donnett said, I knew the pre-salvation, and I remember Daddy always saying, "She's my lady. I love her." And they never really, I know, I'm sure they had arguments, I'm sure they had disagreements, but they never, toward the end of their life, we never heard them fuss. I mean, the older they got, the more they walked with the Lord. They loved each other. Their love was, I used to say, I want a marriage like mom and daddy. Mama would never discuss with us kids what she didn't like about daddy, and daddy never discussed it. What if they had something, even if something was dealing with, if they didn't agree with something we didn't do, they wouldn't go to the other kids and talk about me. They'd come to me and say,
Right.
"Hey, this is what I feel like I'm concerned about." They didn't say, "Hey, Donnett, Kay's doing this."
Never.
And just knowing back in the early days where daddy and mama loved each other. I mean, and the last 10 years of mama's life, she did grieve about daddy, but she had us to kind of help her kind of, fill in that gap, even though we never did take daddy's place. But she never said anything ugly about daddy. Daddy never
No,
said anything ugly about mama. And there was nothing
never.
ugly to say about neither one of them. We had two godly parents. And I tell people, I have people at church that have known daddy and mama for years. And just the other day, Gail Bristow, every time she sees me, she calls me Carolyn Jr. She goes, "Your mama and daddy were the real deal." That's how I explain mom and daddy. They were the
They
real
were.
deal. And I'm
Yeah.
not just saying it because they were my parents. And I would say what you saw in church is what they lived at home.
True.
It, they were real. And
Yeah.
that's, again, I'm striving for.
So, and Donnett, how did your parents' marriage affect you? And how did it encourage you? How did it help you in your marriage?
Well, and again, that's kind of loaded, Justin. I never saw the pre-dad. By the time he was called to preach, Mama was pregnant with me and
Yeah.
Dawn. So, but I think um, with Daddy, I think the way Daddy was raised extremely strict and hard.
Yeah.
And growing up, it was more, I think, what I saw personally was more about religion. And it was no makeup, no pants, can't get your ears pierced. Uh, and so we kind of grew up with the fear of, okay, if I'm gonna wear pants, or if we're uh, do anything wrong, we're going straight to hell. So I grew up, honest to God, I grew up, I'm serious, I grew up with a lot of fear. I was full of fear, afraid not that I cuss, but if something ugly came out of my mouth, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm going to hell, I'm going to hell, I'm going to hell. And so growing up, honestly, I'm serious. Like I was so scared. I was any little thing I did, I was going to go to hell for.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was afraid of, it was more about religion. And to this day, I can't stand religion. I can't stand it. It
Right.
is my personal relationship with
Amen.
Jesus Christ. And I'm sorry, but what somebody is convicted over, that's their conviction. But if
They,
I'm not convicted over their sin, then that's between me and God.
Mm-hmm.
Like wearing pants, and so my answer to that is growing up, I grew up in a lot of fear because that's what I was taught. But I kind of had to learn that kind of on my own and growing up and getting out of that mentality. Um, I just
Can I interrupt you for a minute?
and
We was
teaching my
talking,
kids, sure, yeah,
but see, that's all Daddy knew. Daddy
that's
was
all he
taught
knew
that,
in
and that's
his
what I told
defense.
Justin.
But I
He had,
remember being Justin. I was in ninth grade in high school, and we kind of grew up afraid of Daddy because he was so stern. He loved us, but he was so stern. I never remember ever growing up sitting in his lap and him reading us a book because he was raised so hard.
Mm-hmm.
And but I remember we were in ninth grade in high school. He called me, Dawn, and Dale because we were the only ones in school. Sure, I think Cheryl graduated. Dave and Danny, it didn't matter. He called us in his office, and we're like, "Oh God, what do we do now?" Because I felt like we were always in trouble. And no offense to Daddy, I knew he loved us, but he was hard because that's all he
that's
knew.
all he knew. That's all he
And
knew.
he called us in his office, and we're sitting there timid, probably shaking out of our underwear. And he said, "Hey, so y'all can wear pants now." And we, what? And he said, "Yeah, y'all can wear pants." And I'll never forget and I was like, "Really?" And he was like, "Yeah." And he cried and he said, "I'm so sorry. I'm so
and,
sorry."
and so let
Y'all,
me throw this in there. So we're
We just
and
don't
it's about
do
the
this.
same person because mom knew Paul when he was before saved. He had just gotten saved and called to preach when they were having you. And by the time I come along, I remember. I mean, because I grew up, we were super close with Mama and Paul, and I would be literally sitting there, and he would be joking and laughing, and he would be talking about Jesus, and the next minute he'd be crying, and then he'd be joking. And me and my brother said he laughed like the Joker. He literally sounded like the Joker when he laughed.
he
But
did,
he
yes.
would sit there and joke and laugh, and then the next thing you know, we'd be talking about Jesus, and he always called me JD, so he'd be like JD, talking. And
Yeah,
then next thing you know, he'd start talking about Jesus, and he would just be boohooing. We
I
would be
know.
we would
Yeah.
be in the living room on the couch, just hanging out, him talking about Jesus and just crying and just like so. It's like all
He,
three of us know this different, known him in a different time and in a different way. I
yeah.
think it's to see the vulnerability in people as they changed as they gotten older because
Yeah.
was pretty strict when I was young too. So,
Well,
I
now
know.
now she's a little bit more laid back.
but
So.
like Don
Yeah. Yeah.
said, that's all Daddy,
Mm-hmm.
that's all Daddy knew.
Mm-hmm.
Even
Yeah.
later in life, he would sit and apologize to us for certain things because hair and makeup's not going to take us to hell. I
Yeah,
mean,
he
makeup
would.
and
And
pants and
even like months before the car accident, I would go visit and he would sit and cry and apologize. And I would look at him, I'd say, "Daddy, it it's okay. Like it's
yeah,
okay. Like I hate to say it like this, y'all, and I don't mean it in any disrespect. The damage was done, but I forgave him.
Yeah.
I forgave him. Like I
Oh yeah.
didn't dwell on I didn't dwell on that, but I always told myself I am never going to do this to my kids.
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Like
older Daddy got, the
the religion part of it. You know what I'm saying? Like I just
Yeah. But we also got to reevaluate. We also got to think there's probably things that we did do, and like even me. I mean, I'm in my 40s. That 10, 20 years from now, I'm probably going to look back at my kids and be like, I'm sorry, dude, or I'm sorry, I shouldn't. So
yeah.
we all go through that.
Oh, yeah.
Any good and loving parent should go through that.
100%. That's
Yep,
right.
yep, yep.
And like Kay said, that's all Daddy knew. But
that's
as
all
he got
Daddy knew.
older,
Mhm.
he obviously lightened up a lot. And he was extremely strict on
The
us.
older he got, the wiser he
Mhm.
got, and God showed him. hey, this is, like you said, this is religious stuff. This
And
is,
I think the more he
Yeah,
grew, and the more he grew, he preached about the grace of God, and the more he grew in the grace of God, he probably learned over time to give more grace.
I agree with that.
Yeah, yeah,
100%. Yeah.
yeah.
I
Donnett, I
do.
remember I worked for a company and I remember the very first day I started, and I know I'm kind of off key on this. Lady walked up to me and I worked as a switchboard operator. And she said, "Do you go to church anywhere?" And I said, "Yeah, I go to Millbrook Church of God at the time." She said, "Well, why are you wearing makeup and pants?" And I thought that was the mentality. And I went, I'm not convicted. And like you said, just because
No.
someone's got convictions, if there's someone that goes to my church that doesn't believe in wearing pants, that's her conviction. I mean,
You work
you're
your own salvation.
Yeah.
right.
And you know what some people are convicted of, I may not be, but I'm not going to judge them.
And I'm
You know
not
what
going to
I'm
put
saying?
my
They're not,
conviction
they shouldn't judge me. I'm not going to judge them.
right.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Well, awesome. I think those are all really, really good points, and some of that I didn't know we were going to go there, so that's really,
yeah,
really cool.
sorry. I kind of I
No,
threw
no,
it
no,
We were
no.
just
swirl.
talking.
Hey, hey. However this video goes, I want to go there. So,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
So the next question is something I want to bring up. So the importance of the gospel, and when I say that, just sharing Jesus with the world and just living our Christianity out in real time. And the way I want to phrase it is I kind of always, even with my own life and my own testimony, I always talk about my mom and papa because they are like at the center of my testimony because because of my
Mhm.
mom, papa, and then through mom, and then me. So way I want to paint this is this: in the day and age where a lot of people, and just like Aunt Donnett said multiple times, just being raw and real and transparent, a lot of people live hypocritically sometimes. It's the elephant in the room. It is what it is. We can't ignore
It's
it.
the world we live in.
Exactly. So, but with that being said, something I personally noticed about Mama, and all of us would agree that she is the most godly woman any of us have ever met. Mama, even though she wasn't perfect, she had her flaws, I'm sure, behind closed doors. She was not a hypocritical person. Like you
Absolutely
said,
not.
what you see is what you get. She preached it, she taught it in church, she
And
lived it,
lived it.
she lived it at home. So with that being said, with sharing Jesus with the world, just being transparent about our Christianity and taking a page out of Mama's book and not being hypocritical about it and being consistent about it. And Mom, we'll start with you. So how do how do we how do we go from professing this faith in Jesus and actually living it out, but living it in such a way to where people don't view us as, oh, they're fake, they're phony, they're hypocrites? What do we do with that?
Wow.
However you want to go that, with Mama being an example that she actually lived what she preached, not being a
I
hypocrite.
use mama a lot in my when I talk to somebody. I mean, I've never been a fake person, and I'm sure not going to fake if I'm not living right because I know there would be repercussions from God, but I want people to see the Lord in me. I mean, I may, like if I'm walking in the park, I don't see a lot of people like maybe Donnett does, but I might say, "Do you know Jesus?" And they may say, "Yes." But I may say, "Do you have a relationship?" I have approached people and said, "If Jesus Christ were come today, would you go to heaven?" That makes people think because if you say, "Are you a Christian?" most people say yes when, that's their lives are between them and God. But I want them to know there's nothing in this world to keep me from heaven. And mama and daddy, and when we say mama more, we had more one on one time with mama
I was
in the
going to say
last 10
that.
years of her life. She she was my mentor. She
Mm-hmm.
was my hero. And I'm sure all the other six sisters and the three brothers would say the same thing. I want one day this one and his brother to say, "My mama was a real deal." I don't want them to say, "Well, she was One way this week she was on fire, the next week she was down in the dumps. Yeah, I'm human, I make mistakes, but I want you kids to
Hey,
say,
Jeremy, if you see this video, she just admitted it.
I want you kids to say that we're so
Yeah,
Mama inspired us all. She
yeah,
was Donnett can attest. You know, she was our hero.
yeah.
You drove a long way to see her and take care of her, but
Mhm.
it was worth every minute just to spend maybe 2 days, a day and a half with Mama because she encouraged you.
Yeah. So,
Oh,
so,
yeah.
so with that being said, and on it, so the gospel, sharing Jesus, talking about Jesus, living Jesus out in day to day practical terms. How do you approach that? What do you do? Examine in your own life, your own heart. The Bible tells us to, basically point the finger at our own face, to test ourselves to see if we truly be in the
Yeah.
faith. What do you do with all that?
You know, that's a great question. Um, you know, I don't really want to elaborate on the car wreck, but like Kay said, we got a lot of one-on-one time with her. And that was one thing I remember her saying, because she had so many children. You know, she had 10 kids in a 14-year span. She didn't have a lot of one-on-one time with us. She really didn't. And do you know, she told me it was after the car wreck. She said that she would pray often. And sometimes you got to be careful what you pray for because
Yeah.
God will answer that sometimes in
Yeah.
ways we may not want to. But she said she told me this. She said, I prayed a lot of times that God would give me one-on-one time with my kids.
And he did.
And he did. And so I saw Mom not even being able to blow her on nose or even get an eyelash out of her eye if I, and there she was teaching Sunday school, still teaching Sunday school, still studying the word. And I would look at her doing that thinking, oh my God, I'm so guilty. I don't even do this. I don't teach Sunday school at my church. I don't read the Bible like she does. And here she is
Bound to a wheelchair.
bound to a wheelchair. And
That's
I'm
an
being
awesome.
honest,
Oh yeah.
I didn't teach Sunday school. I never taught
Mhm.
Sunday school before in my life. And I was, well, up until she passed away, I was 51. I never taught Sunday school ever, ever. And so that was a wake up call. Now I go to a church where I've had to literally get on stage and speak. And I told
And you
myself, I
did
said,
good.
and I told the Lord this in my prayer time. I was like, God, again, be careful what you pray for because God brought me and Randy to a Bible believing, spirit filled church, a wonderful pastor. And I'm telling you, he's pulled it out of me. I didn't want to because there again, I was scared and afraid. And I thought, who am I to get up on stage and do what I do? But God has answered those prayers and my pastor's pulled it out of me.
That's
And when I
awesome.
get up there, I'll go back and listen to the videos of us at church and stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I sound like my mother. I sound
Yeah,
like my mother.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And all those years I didn't do it. Their mama was teaching Sunday school, and we would flip the pages, and I would help her write her note. Mom would
And see,
dictate her
she
notes.
couldn't even write her notes.
I
We
would
had
write her notes, and I'm
she
thinking,
did
I
it.
never did this. God, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And I kind of beat myself up over that. But seeing Mom do that has helped me now
Oh
want
yeah,
to do more. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's
I
so
love it.
much more for me to do.
And just
And
think, she could have said, I can't do it. I can't flip the pages. I can't do it. But she still did it. And it inspired.
Mom never stopped. Even her kind of showing signs of dementia, she would still talk about Jesus to everybody that came into.
Absolutely.
And I'm thinking, if she's laying there an invalid and can't even brush her own teeth, or all she could do was like barely this to wipe her nose, how much more can I do? That's what she taught me.
Yeah.
I
So
think it was you that asked her one time, Mama. I think it was you, Donnett. Mama, why? Why did this happen to
she
you?
did. She
And Mama
did.
said, Why not me?
Why not me? And I'll never
She never
forget that.
complained.
I
Yeah,
was like, Mom, why you and Dad, y'all served Jesus 50 years plus. Why are y'all going through this? I could think of a lot of other people that should have gone through what they
Mhm.
did. And she looked at me and she said, Why not me?
why not me?
You know what that reminds me of? And I've never ever thought about this till just right now when Jesus said in the garden, let this cup pass from me. But then he said, nevertheless, your will be done. Then he
Oh,
then he went through torture on earth.
oh,
Then he went through torture on earth. And I'm like, how dare we be prideful enough to think, not me. I mean, I want to have a
I
smooth
know.
sailing and easy peasy life with no issues. And I'm like, Jesus came to the earth, and the Bible literally points towards he learned obedience through suffering. And we
Yeah,
see the suffering that, you know, everything that happened with the wreck, and Mama being bound to a wheelchair, still teaching people, still, teaching Sunday school, or in a nursing home or wherever, still talking about Jesus. How dare we be prideful enough to think we can't do that? That doesn't,
yeah. I
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
Justin, there's one thing I do want to tell you. When mom was in Spain rehab in Birmingham, I took 3 months off of work to help care for her. And I'll never forget, there was this man named Donald, and he was at Spain rehab, and he had cancer of his spine. And do you know that mom won that man to the Lord? Do you know I looked up his obituary after he died? I became friends with his wife on Facebook, I think. Well, I found out that he had passed away. I looked up his obituary. At the bottom of his obituary, the lady, his wife, had put in on there. It said, "My husband Donald," and I forgot their last name, became uh, became to, don't quote me on exactly how it said, but knew Jesus because of Carolyn Denmark.
Never heard that
Yeah,
story.
that's awesome.
I
All
never heard that.
because of her. And I'm like, man, if she's sitting here, she barely could even hardly even catch her breath at that time because she was so weak.
Oh yeah.
Thinking, oh, I've got so much work to do. And I felt so,
That's
and I know that
exactly.
shame came from the enemy,
Hmm.
but it was also the conviction of the Holy
Oh yeah.
Spirit
Oh yeah.
telling me, Donnett, come on, girl. I've got a lot of catching up to do because I had always allowed fear, thinking, here I am divorced. Here I am. Um, I probably wasn't living exactly the way that I should, but a fear of what people would go, who is she to be telling me about Jesus or whatever.
Yeah.
But at that moment, I was like, man, God, Jesus, I'm sorry. I've got a lot catching up to do.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
don't matter how old you are. I've really tried to start doing better and being not more like Jesus, but more
Hmm.
like my mom.
Yeah, and I have a personal story, and I'm not going to touch on me very much. I just want to add this one little thing, and I'm not going to touch on it much. That the Lord started speaking to my heart several years ago about all these cliche prayers that we pray.
Yeah.
So I found myself is when I was youth pastor, and I found myself, whether at church, didn't matter where I was at, I'm saying the stereotypical prayers. Lord, I'll go where you want me to go. I'll say what you want me to say. I'll do what you want me to do. All those stereotypical things. And then one day I was literally at home in the privacy of my own home and nowhere around. And the Holy Spirit started prompting my heart with those prayers I was praying. And he was literally telling me, will you really? Would you
Mm.
really? And I'm sitting here remembering those prayers, like, Lord, I don't care what it looks like. I don't where people. I don't care what people think about me. I'll do it. I'll say it. I don't care. And the Holy Spirit was telling me, "Are you sure about that? Will you?" And that is a slow journey that the Lord had me on. But something I want to ask you is, you mentioned um, that something you noticed about Mama was when somebody, and this is just those stereotypical, somebody says, "Oh, pray for me," and and you're like, "Oh, I'll pray
Oh,
for you." You said Mama wouldn't just say, "I'll pray for you." She would
she did
literally,
it
yeah, yeah,
then.
she would
Mhm.
stop what she's doing and
She
pray them.
taught me, if someone says pray for me, and I'm trying to make a habit of this. Don't wait. Life distracts us.
Mm-hmm.
Mama did it then. I
Mm-hmm.
remember one time we were in church. Somebody was having marital issues and they trusted Mama. And Mama grabbed her little feeble hand and held onto that lady's hand, and she started praying over her marriage. That lady and her husband are still together. And she reminds me of that. She said, "Your
Yeah,
mother prayed for my marriage." Mama didn't wait till Monday to pray for this lady and her husband.
she
Mama
did it
did
right
it
then. Yeah,
Sunday in church before church
Yeah.
started.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And that has really, really stuck with me.
She would always say, grab my hand, grab my
yeah,
hand. Let's pray now.
yeah.
now,
Mm.
now,
Because
Let's pray now.
we might
Because
not
if
have
you
that
don't,
opportunity later.
yeah, you'll forget. You get distracted.
True, true.
because of life distracts
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
And she did say that, and that's the truth. And I'm telling you, when you go to church with somebody, and a lot of people knew Mom at the Brook, and they knew Mom and Daddy's life. They saw what Mama went through. And I'm not kidding. I've never heard anything negative about our parents.
Yeah.
Your parents were the real deal, Kay. And how does that make you feel as a daughter? You just want to Lord,
Yeah.
it makes you feel so good.
Yeah. So let me twist it just a little bit. So what I want to do now is I want to question y'all about some specific personal things that we discussed off camera. So we'll start with Aunt Donnett. So Aunt Donnett, you made the comment about, and I want you to elaborate on it a little bit, that you said that God taught you that healing starts the moment we stop hiding the hurt. So if you don't mind, can you talk about that and just elaborate on what you meant by that?
It was like growing up as a preacher's kid, you felt like you always had to put on this persona. You had to always be like, oh, yeah, I'm like, you know, the
Oh, yeah.
strong, uh, everything's always okay type thing. But, as I've gotten older, um, God can't heal what we refuse to bring to Him.
Mm-hmm.
He
That's
can't heal
true.
that's why we just got to be open and honest with Him. And I remember always telling Mama, you know, she prophesied to me, and she told me one time, she said, quit hiding behind that happy face. We don't have to be happy. You don't have to be happy all the
Yeah,
time when
yeah,
you're hurting.
yeah.
It's okay to show that. And, it's like the moment, we open up about our broken places in life and be honest and humble, um, he can start putting back together those pieces. It's like
Yeah.
just growing up, it was just always like, ha ha ha, everything's great. When really,
Deep down inside, you were weak.
sometimes being a preacher's kid kind of sucked a little bit. Sorry, kind of stunk. Sorry. It
Let
did,
me
but
hold her ears so she don't hear that.
yeah, that's true. But healing,
Just
when you
because
get
you're
to
a
a place
preacher's
where
kid.
you just like God heal these broken places, don't mean you have to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to be honest.
Yeah, that's good, Donnett.
Be
Oh,
honest with Jesus. Be honest with Him. Don't come to Him feeling like we're just perfect and put together and this and that. And you know what? Even today, like sometimes, we have bad days. It's okay to show that.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to be like,
God gave us those
not that we
emotions.
walk around as Debbie Downer. I'm not saying that, but it's just like we don't have to be put on this perfect face, like, hi, everything's great, and I remember telling Mama that. And I remember her saying, I have down days too. God wants us to come to Him in honesty, not in
Mm-hmm.
perfection.
Yeah, yeah. And when you were saying that, I'm sitting there thinking about, because you had teenagers at one point and we're way, way over teenagers now. And then you've had teenagers. So think of it this way. And I guess the way I thought about it when you were talking was me being a father. If my kids are going through something, I don't want my kids to ignore me as their father. I'm going to want them to talk to me about it. I'm going to,
Yeah,
if I can help them, it's like I've told hey, like my son, I'm like, Judah, if you need help, talk to me, dude. I promise you, I will help you. I'm your dad. I love you. If we could approach
yeah.
God in those terms.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, I don't go to, sometimes if something's bothering me, I don't go to Randy feeling like I got to be all perfected and, I got to put on this. No, I'm just like, hey, this is what's bothering me. And we go the same way to the Father.
Mm-hmm.
He don't want us to come. We come humbly. Lord, this is exactly what I'm going through. This is what I'm feeling right now. And that's what I've had to learn. Like, He don't want perfection.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus don't want perfect. We're not
because
perfect.
he's the only one that is perfect. He's the one
Yeah.
we got to go to. We all
Yeah,
do
something
that.
Papa used to
So
say
that's
all the
kind of
time.
what I meant by that. I
Oh
hope
yeah.
that made sense.
No, it made complete
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
It made perfect sense, because the one Bible verse that Papa quoted almost more than any I ever heard was, trust in
Trust
the
in the
Lord with
Lord.
all your heart.
Your
Don't lean
heart.
on your own understanding. The Bible doesn't say trust yourself, help yourself. If you're going through something, fix yourself. The Bible says
Yeah.
trust Him, not ourselves. So
Yeah.
what you're saying is perfectly biblical. I mean,
Yeah.
I
I
love it.
mean, we have to be honest. We have to be
Yeah,
honest because He already knows the truth.
but he wants to
So,
hear it from us. He wants
yeah.
us, like
So
he
I've
said, come
learned to like
humbly.
talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, uh, you don't have to be perfect. Just be yourself. Just
Mm-hmm.
be yourself. Be yourself with your spouse. Be yourself with your kids. No sense in trying to be perfect because that's when fake comes in.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't want to be fake.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Me either.
Yeah.
That's my motto. Me either.
So let
And
me ask you.
I'm being real right now.
No,
Like
no, that's
I
good.
ain't trying to be perfect. I'm just me.
Yeah,
And you know what? If people don't like it, that's not my problem to worry about what people think about me. That's none of my business.
yeah. So let me ask another question, or we're going to start wrapping up the video here. So let me ask y'all this, and I want both of y'all to answer this question. And it's not to puff up the flesh, it's not to puff up ourselves. It's just to um, our job as Christians is to disciple people, to help people, to encourage people. So with this whole video, the whole point of this video being what makes a godly woman, to help and encourage and inspire other women, with Mama being the most godly woman we ever met, as I've said multiple times. What are some of the qualities that she had that the Lord used in her to help you both?
Mm.
And with that being said, how can other people take those qualities, those values, those godly characteristics? How can someone else listening to this conversation, how can they take that and it be a help and a benefit to them? So what's
I
one?
can answer the first part
Go
if
ahead, go
Kaye
ahead, go
wants
ahead.
to. I think the first part is listening to
Mm-hmm.
people.
Mm-hmm.
We talked
There's
about
so many distractions. One thing I hate is when you're trying to talk to somebody and they do this with their phone.
Oh,
oh,
that's my
absolutely.
pet peeve. I hate
I
it.
hate
That's a big
that. I
Yeah,
hate it with a
yeah,
passion.
oh, yeah.
And I think people just want to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
Just if somebody's talking to you or me or just in general, take the time to listen. no interruptions.
Mhm.
Sometimes they don't even want feedback. Listen to them
Mhm.
and be kind.
Oh yeah.
I think nowadays our problem is the distractions of,
Mhm.
and that's,
Social media.
I can't stand it. I cannot stand it when you're talking to somebody one on one. Just put down your phone.
Yeah.
Listen to them. Listen to what they're saying, and then when they're done speaking, give them feedback. That to me, that's what I think is a good start. And be kind. See, one thing about Mama, I remember, of course, she didn't have a phone and stuff, but she would just listen, and just have a good feedback and be kind. Just be kind to people.
Mankind.
Yeah, something I lean on is, the Lord doesn't give us a spirit of fear. He gives us, power, love, and a sound mind. He
Yeah,
gives us peace. He gives us joy. The Bible does
yeah,
not say the Lord gives us a spirit of being a jerk.
right.
Right.
Then nowhere in the Bible do we read it where is it okay for a Christian just be a flat freaking jerk. It's ridiculous. So
That is
that
very
yeah,
true.
yeah.
I think,
If Kay wants to answer the second part, she
Go ahead.
can.
yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Be
Yeah.
kind. Why can't people? And this right here, like you said, yeah, I'm bad about picking it up, but if it's talking to somebody, it's you kind of feel a little like they don't care about you. If
Can
you,
I have someone say hello?
I
Hello,
are,
hello,
yeah.
hello.
This is Aunt Kay and Justin. I love you. Be spending the day with Lolly.
Just a minute. But this right here is the next generation of why I want to not only be like Jesus, number one, but to be like my mother is this right
You
here.
want to do for her like I want to do for him, and like
Yeah,
he wants to do for Kaylee and Justin. I mean, Kaylee and Jesus.
exactly.
So wrapping this video up, let me end with this. So for the person who's heard this conversation, they've got a sneak peek into your heart. They've got a sneak peek into who Mama was. For the person who's seen this and maybe struggling, or maybe who's struggling and they don't want to admit it, and something you keep saying, real and raw, and be real and raw. We're trying to be open and transparent. For that person who has a problem with being transparent, feeling like people are going to think they're not good enough, or they're not holier enough, or they're not that perfect Proverbs 31 woman. So, with that being said, the person who's watching this video and who's struggling, how do you encourage them? How do you help them? Mom, we'll start with you.
Reach out to somebody that you know that's real
Mhm.
and talk to them.
Mhm.
Somebody you know that's not going to talk behind your back and tell everything. Everybody needs somebody to talk to. Like I've got a young man, he's autistic, he's in his 20s. He hasn't been to church in a while. And every now and then he'll go, Miss Kay, I'm going to come back to church. But he opens up to me and it makes me feel good because this young man doesn't have a saved mother. He lives with his grandmother. She's not saved. And it makes me feel good. But find somebody that
Mhm.
you can confide in, that you know that's not going to talk about it to other people. Because a lot of things you can tell people and they'll go and gossip. I mean, and be real with them. Don't be like godly on Sunday and be like the devil on Monday. Let them see Jesus in you
Yeah,
and me,
yeah,
Lord. And I try to make this a habit every day because we don't know when God's going to take us. But Lord, if there's done anything I've done today, prick my heart, show me where I'm wrong.
Yeah.
yeah. So, and Donnett, so as somebody who's struggled in the past with whatever, how do somebody who's seeing this video and they're struggling with any of the talking points, or they're just struggling, period, what do you tell them? How do you encourage and help them?
Well, from my experience, of course, I've been in church my whole life, obviously. Find a find a spirit-filled church and get involved. That will help with accountability. Uh,
Yes, yes,
we all need accountability. Uh,
yes.
my thing is I'm extremely involved in small groups or whatever you have to do. I don't think I don't have big circles. I don't like big circles. I keep my circles small for a
Mhm.
reason. I have friends and I have, acquaintances, but you need to find a small circle that can hold yourself accountable.
Mhm.
And that's what Randy and I have done. We're extremely close with our pastors, as my pastor's wife, I call them
Mhm.
pastors. And then we have another couple that, and they are our accountability partners.
Mhm.
And I believe that's the beginning of that. I
Mhm.
think you need to try to find a godly couples that'll hold yourself accountable.
Because you're right,
That's
everybody
the
needs
first part.
accountable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think,
We do need accountability.
yeah, and I think
everybody does. Yeah,
oh yeah, yeah. And my opinion would be, don't matter where you're at, just like help somebody, love somebody, give to somebody, serve somebody, even if it's
yeah,
just one, just go out of your way to help someone else, because that one person you help, you don't know what they're honestly struggling with. So
you
if you
don't.
can give to somebody, if you can serve somebody, you can love somebody every opportunity you get. To me, that's the key to proper discipleship. So,
You
Yeah,
know, this
I
is not a
agree.
scripture in the Bible, but this is something I always think about. Sometimes we may be the only Bible
mhm,
that somebody
that's
reads.
true.
They're watching,
100%.
they're watching me, they're watching
True.
Justin.
True.
So if, and of course we're human, we do make mistakes, but we've got to try to live as close to God as we can because they may never pick up a Bible. They're
Yep.
going to watch
That is
us.
true.
Yeah,
There's
people
people.
are watching you when you think they're not. So I try to be careful what I put on social media. But
Oh yeah.
I'm not afraid of being judged. I've gotten past that. You
Mhm.
Yeah,
know, what people think of me is none of my business. That is just between me
I
and God.
think the older we get, that doesn't bother me as long as we can
Yeah.
please the Heavenly Father.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I, for one,
This
thank y'all for
has
doing this video.
been
This was awesome.
amazing. I loved it. Maybe we can do a part two.
If y'all want to do a part two, we'll do it.
We'll
But
do that.
Maybe get
it,
another sister in here. So
Hey,
y'all got plenty of sisters. That ain't the problem.
no, it's not.
we're
It's
Y'all
gonna
got
not.
a whole bunch
Justin,
of.
thank you.
going to Justin's the weekend of the 19th of
Yeah.
December. So
But anyway,
It's
I
been an honor and it's been humbling. And talking about, some of the things maybe next time we can have more raw
mhm.
conversations.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
talking about your mama and our precious mother has
Oh
been
yeah.
easy.
and you know what? We're blessed because we did have a
Oh yeah.
godly heritage, and that godly
And
heritage is
Right.
going.
it's up to us to keep that going. Like you said,
That's right.
to the next generation, to the
Yeah.
kiddos.
That
So
one
That's
that
right. Yeah, exactly.
she
Well,
said
it's
Holly lives.
Tom.
I said, little Aria, she sees what Lolly lives, and she's
mhm.
going to
That's
one day
right.
say, I want to be like my Lolly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
that's
way we
right.
talk about
That's
Mama.
Kind
my
of follow.
daughter.
The Bible talks about. Paul said, "Follow me as I follow Christ." That's what it's all
That's
about. So,
right.
but I love y'all. Thank y'all for
I
doing
love
this.
y'all. It's
And
been
Love
an
and
you.
honor.
and this was part 6 in the series that we're doing. What
Yay.
makes a godly woman? And if you haven't seen any other videos, on this YouTube channel on Truett's Weather Word, click on the playlist button, and you'll see what makes a godly woman, and you'll see all the other interviews we've done. And we got some more fun interviews lined up. But for now, for me, for my mom, for my Aunt Donnett, this is their take
Yay.
on that. This is their word on what makes a godly woman. And until the next time, we will see y'all on the next video.
Love you, Nana.
God bless. Bye. Love you guys.
Love you.
Love
Bye.
y'all.
Bye bye.
Love you. Bye.